Welcome to Shooting Spaces, a real estate photography podcast. Discussions on gear, technique, industry news, and interviews with the best in the business. Now, here are your hosts, Rich Baum and Brian Berkowitz.
Hello and welcome to Shooting Spaces. This is Brian from New York.
And Rich Baum from Sacramento, California.
And we want to thank everybody for tuning in. But before we get to it, Rich, what's going on? Weather changing out there by you?
Yeah, it's changing. Trees are just starting to change colors down here in Sacramento, but it was like 80 degrees today and beautiful blue skies, and it's nice though. I'm really happy with the change. I'm very busy with trying to shoot houses that are the trees are changing and falling, so everybody's scurrying to get the houses shot, or at least the exterior shot before there are no leaves.
No, for sure. That's like me in September before they close up all the pools.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone is always...
You're in September and I'm in November. So
exactly.
Yeah. So what's going on today, Brian?
So today, as you and I both spoke about last week, I went to Photo Plus in New York City. As people who are fans of our page or like our page know, I did a quick 1 minute live when I was there. And I went in and I went to, see what was out there for my business. But I figured while I was there, let's see what different vendors there are where other real estate photographers can benefit from, and see if I can speak to them and bring a little bit of new information out to our listeners and take it from there. Yeah. So my goal when I went out there was not to, obviously, I didn't want to go in and speak to Canon and Sony and Nikon, because everyone knows the deal with those cameras and the DSLRs and the mirrorless. But I wanted to find a couple of vendors that people might not know about, smaller vendors, where some of the products they were offering could help the business in, real estate photographers and even architectural photographers. So that was my goal when I went out there last week. And, we'll discuss it today.
Well, last time you went, or years ago when you went, you said that you met this teeny little company in the back of the building that turned out to be Cam Rangers. So what do you got for us now? What is so exciting?
It's funny when I spoke to Dave also this week, last week when I was there. Mm-hmm. But yeah, he was back. I think he said it was 2012 last year, where he was a small little company, and he was able to grow himself. So it was nice speaking to him last week. Take a listen if you haven't listened to that. And it was good meeting him in person finally and catching up with him again.
He didn't happen to slip you a Cam Ranger 2, did he?
No, I asked him if I can just look at it, and he didn't even have any with him.
Oh, you're kidding. Wow.
Yeah. Well, so, I got the feeling that they're very nervous to start showing it and talk too much about it before they have an exact release date in mind. They did have the minis on display, so I was looking at those and playing with those a little bit. But they had no Cam Ranger 1s and no Cam Ranger 2s on display. So it was just the minis that were really showing off.
Well, I'll tell you something, and I can feel his concern, because if you get some Cam Rangers out there and you're dealing with two new companies, Sony and Fuji, who knows what's going to happen, and who knows what's going to happen within the line, between the different Sony cameras. So I totally think he's wise to not, jump the gun and make sure everything's working really well.
Yeah, no, for sure. I agree wholeheartedly.
Mm-hmm.
So like I said, when I was out there last week, not only did I decide to go out and speak to a couple of these people, and I was only at Photo Plus for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. So I had a lot to do there. Number one, obviously look for things for my own business, but number two, try to find some information to share with you guys, all our listeners. So besides speaking to people and finding out about all the different products that are being offered, I also brought a microphone and a recorder with me, and I decided to do some quick 1 or 2 minute flash interviews with a couple of these vendors. So I picked 5 vendors, and none of these vendors I picked were because I favored them over anybody else. So let me preface it with that. They just happened to be people I was speaking to, and products that I feel like some people either might benefit from using, or it'd be good for them to use or know more information about, or products that are being launched in the future that might help us as real estate or architectural photographers. So I figured we'd play those 1 or 2 minute interviews, and Rich and you and I can kind of talk about how we feel that product might be relevant for our industry, and then we'll go on to the next one, if that works.
Sounds good.
All right. So the first interview I did was with a company called Palette Gear. Some of you might know this. I actually own their products. I bought it when they first launched on Kickstarter, but they make hardware for Photoshop and Lightroom users. So I will play our quick interview I did with them now, and then we can discuss it a little further. Hey, everybody. I'm here with Andy from Palette Gear. Andy, why don't you say hi?
Hey, everyone.
And tell us a little bit about what your device does, because I actually own it. I bought it on the Kickstarter. What was it, 4 or 5 years ago? Something like that?
Yeah, so 2014 we launched on Kickstarter. Palette makes a modular and completely customizable hands-on control surface for photo editing as well as video editing. So imagine like a mixing board that you can use in Lightroom or Photoshop or your other favorite creative apps.
Cool. So most of our users are using Lightroom and Photoshop. We're not really doing much. Some people use a little bit of video, but what I liked about it is just the ability to customize sliders, buttons, and all that for your daily functions, and it just makes your workflow significantly quicker.
Yeah, and that's the feedback we're getting from customers. You know, in the context of like real estate and architectural photography, you know, we can do things like correct your verticals, correct your horizontals, and really dial in those adjustments that are going to bring your work from very good to an incredible level of polish very quickly. And you can keep your eyes on your screen while you're editing, so it's very intuitive.
All right, awesome. Like I said, I have Palette Gear, so definitely check them out. Where can they find more info on your stuff?
So our social handle is Palette Gear for Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and we're at palettegear.com as well.
All right, great. Thank you, Andy, for your time. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Fred.
All right, so that was Andy with Palette Gear. And Rich, I don't know if you're familiar with Palette and their stuff that they make. I actually do own a Palette Gear modular set that I bought when they originally launched on Kickstarter. I don't use it as frequently as I should, but based off what you heard, and I don't know how familiar you are with it, what are your thoughts on using a type of hardware like this?
Well, gosh, personally, I totally understand where they're at, and I've seen it online. I haven't seen it physically in person, but I've dealt with Loop Deck, and I've tried using Loop Deck, and Loop Deck's I think probably very similar, where it just lets you have knobs and like a tactile feel for everything you're doing in Lightroom and Photoshop.
Differences between the two, because I have both. Palette Gear allows you to customize the buttons, sliders, and knobs, whereas Loop Deck already has it preset for you. So, if there's some buttons on Loop Deck which you never use, or there's buttons in Lightroom that you use all the time that are not on the Loop Deck, Palette allows you to customize those buttons. So there's definitely, like he was using an example of straightening your verticals and horizontals. You can customize and set that for, I guess, distortion and different options that have sliders to correct your verticals in Lightroom, whereas Loop Deck won't allow for that.
Yeah. No, I totally see the value in it. And I personally I've given it a try. It's kind of like using a, what's the pad thing?
A tablet?
Tablet. Yeah. The pad thing, I'm old. No, but I've used a tablet, and I've really tried to use it, and I just always revert back to what I'm best at, and just using my mouse and my presets. So, my hotkeys. So that's it. But I totally value it, and I'd certainly like to try it. But, as of yet, I have not.
Yeah, one of the cool things I think, and I can speak for them because I do own it, is that, for instance, when you compare it to the Loop Deck, and I'm not knocking Loop Deck, I actually have one as well, you can purchase individual sliders, knobs, or buttons, so you can kind of customize your set, your palette, if you want to call it that, to what you need. And they're all magnets, so they kind of just, each little piece kind of just clasps together. Yeah. So if you're more into sliders versus buttons, you can just get a ton of sliders. And if you're into having buttons do everything, or knobs instead of sliders, those are probably the easiest comparisons. When you just turn a knob left or right versus a slider, you can kind of customize it to what you're looking for. So it's definitely a lot more customizable, versus the loop deck. The loop deck, though, you still shoot weddings. I feel like the loop deck is great for a wedding shooter who just has to call and edit tons, hundreds of images really quickly at a time.
Yeah, well, and I'll be honest with you. I don't edit weddings anymore. I'm only a second shooter now, but that's by design. Yeah, and I used to edit all of our weddings, but I don't anymore. So I could see the value in it. I think when you get into culling, it's like using Photo Mechanic. It's really a very valuable tool to save. As I always say, saving time is getting faster, saving second by second. So that would certainly be something that palette gear would be great for. So I hope to try it sometime.
All right, cool. Yeah. So moving on, the next person who I spoke to was a gentleman from a company called GeoCV. And what they do is they have virtual open houses, very similar to what the Matterport does. And I know there's a lot of Matterport lovers and a lot of Matterport haters out there, so I'm not taking sides. But the cool thing about what they do is that it allows you to do it from your smartphone, which is pretty cool. So it helps minimize the hardware that you have to purchase. So let me play for you what he said, and then we can talk about it quickly.
Everybody, I'm here with Jonathan from GeoCV. Jonathan has this new software and hardware which enables you to do, I guess, virtual reality, 3D type walkthroughs of properties. So Jonathan, if you can quickly tell us a little bit about what you have coming out.
Yeah, so GeoCV is the only company in the world using 3D-enabled smartphones to capture and share reality. Essentially, our signature product is the virtual open house. And we're using these next generation smartphones to produce 3D walkthroughs consistent of the 3D data, the 360 images blended together into a mesh, and then allowing people to feel fully immersed using WebVR.
Cool, and I know you said besides for that, you can also derive floor plans out of it. If you're scanning empty spaces, you can virtually stage it. I know a lot of people that are using competitive systems. That's one of the big drawbacks. I know for me, I own a Matterport, and I get often asked, for a builder, let's say, can you add furniture? And I know it's something that it's lacking now.
Yeah, totally. I think the holy grail of this whole industry is really tapping into that open source content. And so whether it's us in-house or sharing the OBJ file externally and allowing for you to build on top of it, things like virtually staged virtual tours, drone integrations, simple things like cropping the camera reflections out of the mirrors, making the sky blue, taking a family portrait off the wall for privacy reasons. Those things go a long way. And so by way of using the smartphone, it's easy and affordable, and having the open platform makes it extremely user-friendly for service providers and content creators.
Sure, I think that's the biggest positive for you, is that you're using your own smartphone, so it significantly cuts the cost down on purchasing hardware.
Yep, totally, exactly that.
All right, cool. So why don't you have a website up that people can demo what you have going on and all that?
Yeah, so geocv.com is our website. geocv.com/demo will give you an example. If you check out our gallery page or our Vimeo page, you could see some videos and some tours to interact with. And if you hit our booking form, it's a soft booking form that you can inquire about, all the different elements to our business. And, we're always doing pilots and demos, so don't be shy to reach out and just learn more.
Sure, thank you. I think it's important for everyone to check out the website because, when you're just listening to us via audio, it's hard to fully comprehend what exactly Jonathan is putting out there, but it's really cool. Everyone check it out. Check out the website and take a look at some demos. Thanks, Jonathan.
You got it. Thanks so much.
All right, Rich. So Jonathan quickly explained to us what his product is, and it's pretty neat. It's very similar, as I mentioned to him in the interview, to the Matterport, although it does have a lot of really cool updated features. First off, using your 3D-enabled smartphone to be able to capture. Now,
let me stop you there. What's a 3D-enabled smartphone? Is that like just as a late model iPhone 3D-enabled?
That's I think one of the biggest dilemmas he's facing, which he told me off the air, is that most smartphones are not 3D enabled yet. But it's coming soon. I think from what I've heard, or what he told me for that matter, the next generation iPhone should be 3D enabled. I think some Samsung Galaxies allow for 3D enabled, and to be honest, I'm not 100% sure. I know it's not obviously the norm or the standard for all smartphones to have 3D enabled capture, but that being said, I'm sure within the next year or two it will be.
And if there's something out there, if it worked and you like the the mechanics and you like the visuals, it'd be worth buying a phone, even if it was $800, $900 phone. But
that's true. That's a lot cheaper than
than a Matterport.
Exactly, for sure. But I think, what he was talking about is having it open source, which allows, other third-party apps to integrate with it, which is huge because, I have a builder that I do Matterport for every so often. And one of their biggest gripes is that, their places just look empty. And to allow, a situation where another company can come in and just add furniture, that's a game changer. And, he was showing me a demo where you were able to kind of do a 3D Matterport type of look from outside in the air using a drone, which he was talking about, which is pretty awesome. And it's maybe he has a demo on his site with it. If he does, definitely check out his site anyway and check out the demos and take a look if he does have it. And I will look myself personally, and if there is, I will post it in the show notes along with a regular link to his site.
Did he have any VR glasses? That I've seen that with Matterport, and that kind of looked cool.
Yeah, he was not showing them off. He was kind of more so showing off his hardware and software. I say hardware because although you use your 3D enabled smartphone, there is a little device that you have to put in front of, I think, the camera on your smartphone to allow it to work. So there is a small little piece of hardware that you do have to buy, but I don't think it's closely from a cost perspective what the Matterport is. But don't quote me on that. But it was a small, tiny little thing that you just kind of put on top of it. So
well maybe this is you met Cam Ranger 6 years ago. Maybe in 3-4 years this will be the standard, and we'll look back. But I'll be honest, I'm not by any means knocking Matterport. It doesn't really work for me visually and my clients, but I have older clients, but I certainly would like to see how it compares,
Sure. Yeah, it looks pretty similar, if you want me to be honest. If you go to their website and demo, you can look and, it looks fairly similar. And, part of me is on the same page as you as far as Matterport. I've said this repeatedly. I bought Matterport and the system for one specific client, so it's not like I said, let me go out and buy this and try to book gigs. I don't even go out. I don't even go after gigs. I don't try to hustle and get jobs. If every so often a call comes in, I'll take it, obviously. But I did it for one specific client and it's paid itself off. But
I'd be more interested to know how the it would be like comparing a $4,000 camera to an $800 camera. I just like to know how the Matterport camera would compare to the phone or vice versa.
Matterport's not known for their image quality, as I'm sure you know.
Okay, yeah.
Take a look at the demo.
And do you not use the tripod? Do you just kind of handhold the phone?
Yeah, that's what he had this little piece of the hardware that you put on the phone that had a little handle. So I think you just hold the phone. He wasn't demoing it on site. He had a big TV up, and that's how he was kind of demoing it. But yeah, it was actually pretty cool. Like the last row at the show was all kind of virtual reality stuff. So that's obviously picked up steam. And it's funny the progression of these Photo Plus, because when I started going to Photo Plus 2010, 11, 12, it was very, very, very wedding based. Tons of printers, tons of binders, tons of album companies. And over the years, that slowly dwindled. And then, 2-3 years ago, everything was video, when the whole DSLR video revolution with the Mark II came about. Everything was video, and that kind of dwindled down. And now virtual reality is coming in. So it's funny how you can see the progression of, the show kind of follows technology. It's pretty neat.
Great. Okay, let's go on. Next, what's coming up?
Next I spoke to somebody who owns a company called V-Flat World, which was pretty interesting. And I thought I would interview him for a few reasons. I know most of us in the real estate world don't use V-Flats. I know a lot of architectural photographers do. And
explain what a V-Flat is.
A V flat is, I think it's more popular in the portrait world. And I never really even thought to use one in a architectural setting until Aaron Kraft brought up the idea, if you remember one of our early interviews back in the day, and he told us that he uses a V flat to shoot into. But essentially what it is, it's like a 6 or 7 foot tall, big gigantic whiteboard that's in the shape of a V, so it can stand on its own, and one side is usually white for reflection and the other side is typically black to use as a flag of some sort. The biggest problem with V flats, as I mentioned, is that they're 6, 7, 8 feet tall. So
and they're used for just to let people know you're used like reflectors, so you bounce your light there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the biggest problem typically is that they're 6, 7, 8 feet tall, which if you're an on-location shooter like most real estate or architectural photographers, that makes it kind of useless unless you have a van. So what V Flat World did was they came up with a folding V flat. So it's pretty cool. But let me play the interview for you and then we can talk about it a little.
Hey everybody, I'm here with Tuvi from V Flat World, and many people in the real estate community don't really use V flats, but I know it's gaining popularity in the architectural world, and a big problem is being able to make those portable since we shoot on location, and Tuvi has solved that problem. So Tuvi, why don't you tell us a little bit about what your product is?
So we make portable and foldable V flats out of 1/2-inch foam core, and the idea came to me about 6 months ago when I was trying to buy V-flats for my fashion photography work, and everything that came up on Google related to V-flats was DIY options, how to do it yourself. And even when I was searching those options, I didn't really have access to the stores that were selling these foam boards. Home Depot and Lowe's don't really sell this kind of foam board. They sell insulation boards, and I don't have a car that 8-foot foam boards could fit in. So I decided to go ahead and buy some raw pieces of foam board, cut them up, and see if I could construct a foldable option. And then here we are. We're currently selling them at B&H and Adorama, and the feedback has been very, very positive.
Well, let me ask you this. You told me a story when I first met you about Hoodie Greenberger, who's been on our podcast before, who's an architectural photographer out of New Jersey. And you told me a story how he utilized your V-flat in a situation. So why don't you just quickly tell that story to kind of emphasize how this can be used in a real estate or an architectural situation?
So Hoodie was basically shooting a nursing home interior, and it was like a brand new, really, really nice interior in the lobby of this nursing home. And there was a wall that was constructed out of some sort of reflective metal. And every time he tried photographing it, it would just be like, in the image, it came up as like a glare. Like you wouldn't actually see the metal. So he basically took a V-flat and stacked it on top of another V-flat, creating like a really, really big source of the black side of the V-flat, actually, creating like a big... basically a flag, and that solved the problem. He had to do it like multiple times. It was a really big wall, but he took multiple images, moved the V-flat a little bit, did it again, and basically got rid of that whole glare. So that was one really cool and creative use in this kind of space.
Well, as we wrap up, so tell everyone, you said you can buy it at B&H and Adorama. Where can they find more info about the product on your website or whatever your URL is?
So we post a lot on our Instagram. We actually feature a lot of other photographers that are using our product. So if you go on our Instagram, which is basically just V-Flat World, you'll see a lot of different information and cool images, and get some creative ideas on how people use it. And also on our website, vflatworld.com, we have a learn page and some other information where you can see everything that we're doing.
And you're priced pretty affordably. You're not much more expensive than if someone wanted to just go out, buy the foam core, and do it yourself, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's one other place, I think, in the entire United States that sells actual ready-made V-flats that are not foldable. They charge about $150, and then they charge $375 for shipping. So we charge $195.99, and we ship them for free anywhere in the United States. Also, for anyone who's international, B&H and Adorama both sell our product, and they both ship it worldwide. And they also both offer free shipping in the United States.
Awesome, Tovi. Thank you for your time.
All right. right, Rich. So V flats. I take it you really don't use them,
Well,
but
no, I've never used them in shooting spaces, but I've used similar products for many years doing portraits and studio work, so I'm very familiar with them.
yeah, but I think, it's most real estate photographers don't really use them or think to use them. But I think having a foldable option like this opens the door to situations which happen often where you go in and, when we shoot with lights, we usually bounce off a ceiling or a wall or something like that. When you get into a situation where maybe your wall or ceiling is not white, and that worst case, you have that, 3x3 foot V flat in your car, which you can just unfold and pop open and make your own reflective surfaces. And this, to me, this is the type of thing where, since it kind of lays flat, you can just kind of put it in the trunk of your car and carefully stack gear on top of it and just leave it in there. And when you need it, you have it there.
Yeah, I've actually used a reflector, a 4x7 foot reflector that folds up, kind of like, round reflector folds up, but they're very, very useful. I used to use it more. I used to bring it more, but now I've found other tricks and ways around having to just go to that extra step. But if I was doing some really important specific shoot, like an architectural or a design shoot, I certainly would like to have that at my disposal, because you never know when you can use it. And it'd probably be great too if you wanted to, like, have a couple of those to block a window or something. The sunlight's coming in and you need something really big. So something that would fold up and support itself would be great.
Yeah, sure. That's why I think the V flats are great, because they do serve two purposes in both a flag and a reflector. But yeah, I mean, when you unfold it and you have this huge 6 or 7 foot high, big white, you're ultimately creating this gigantic wall to reflect off.
Does that one that folds up to 3 feet does it open up to 7 feet?
Yeah, I think he told me it's like 6.5 feet tall by I guess.
Wow. I got to check that out.
Let me see. I think he said it's 40 by 40 when it folds down. So I guess when it's fully open, it's 80 inches by, it's 80 inches by 80 inches, which pretty big. So it is pretty cool. And you know what? It's not even that expensive when you think about it. 195 shipped. A while ago, probably 5-6 months ago, I was actually looking into building my own, which is why maybe I felt the need to speak to him and interview him. And I found some YouTube videos on it. And yeah, when you go in and you end up buying all the foam core to just do it anyway, and by the time you buy the tape, because remember, for the white side, you need to get white tape. For the black side, you need to get black tape, and that's important. By the time you buy the foam core, buy the tape, and spend your couple hours putting it together, forget your time. I mean, by the time you just buy all the material, you're already $100, $120. For $75 more, you have it already shipped to your door, and it comes with a little case too. So it's not like the foam core is literally, if you put it in your trunk with stuff just piled on top of it. It has a little carrying case too.
Well, I'm going to check out the link in the show notes and check it out. I'm interested.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
So
fun stuff. I love this kind of stuff.
All right, yeah. Who knows where these people will be?
And I could just I wouldn't need tape. I could just take hot glue and I could glue everything together. It'd be cool, man.
Hey, whatever works. All right, cool. Let me move on to the next person I spoke to. And this actually, I think, would be one of the most beneficial items for us real estate photographers, a company called Narbox. And I'll play the interview and then we can discuss it.
Hey everybody, I'm here with Tim from Narbox. Narbox is a device that allows you to do on-site backup. So Tim, why don't you tell me a little bit more about your device you're selling?
Yeah, Narbox 2.0 SSD is a rugged backup device for photographers who want to travel without a laptop. It allows you to back up your files with the single press of a button and access them from a mobile device using our application and even Lightroom Mobile. So for a photographer who's on the go, it's a really convenient system that allows you to access your photos.
Sure. I think for what we do, mostly real estate photographers that might shoot 3, 4, 5 properties in a day, this is huge because, you finish each property and you know that your previous files are backed up from each property. If, God forbid, something does happen to your card on your third property, at least you do have property 1 or 2 or anything like that.
That's right. It's a really good way to make sure that your work is backed up as you're going. And it also gives you good tools to organize so that when you get home, it's not a mess.
Yeah, that's huge for me also, because I was talking to you earlier and you said that at each backup upload, you can kind of direct it to go into individual files. I know at the end of the day, if I shoot 4 or 5 properties, I'm going in and I have to sit and sort through all the files and sort them by property afterwards, and that's taking me 5-10 minutes. Whereas if I use your device on site, I get in, I plug it in, and it's already all sorted for me, and I'm ready to edit.
That's right. It'll automatically organize them for you in your preset folders, and then they're pretty much a breeze to pick up at your editor at home.
Sure, and I know the other gentleman was telling me that you also have a setting so it doesn't back up redundant files. So when you finish property 2 and you put it into backup, you're not still backing up property 1 a second time. It knows what you already backed up and gone from there.
Yeah, that's right. It'll make sure that it takes just the new unique files and not a duplicate of something it already has.
All right, cool. And I think one of the biggest features is that you can also just use this as an external hard drive as well. You know, I know for me, when I'm on site, I have my card reader and I have my external hard drive and my laptop, and I'm going from one to the other just to make sure everything's backed up. And now I can do this all with one device instead of bringing a card reader, a laptop, and an external hard drive.
Yeah, that's true. It's fully integrated. So when you get home, you can switch it over into basically hard drive mode and plug it into your computer. It'll show up just like a traditional drive.
Okay, awesome. Do you want to tell everyone where they can find out some more info, your website URL, any social media you have, anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. We're online at narbox.com. That's GNARBOX.com. Our Instagram is at narbox, and the product is available right now on B&H for pre-order.
Awesome. Thanks, Tim, for coming in.
Thank you.
All right. Backups. I know we had a whole Ask the Guys just related to backups. So this is huge for me, but I think it's also huge for anybody out there who shoots more than 1 or 2 properties in a day.
I'm just trying to visualize it. How big was this device?
Small, about the size of an external hard drive.
Great. No, yeah. I think some attributes of it are really, really good things. I could see definitely having a need for it, and having backups is really always good too.
Yeah, and I know that devices like this have been around for years, so the concept is nothing new, but I think Narbox takes it to the next level with, first off, there's a solid state drive in there, so it's pretty quick. Secondly, it has an app that you can work with, so it makes everything a lot easier to kind of direct your organization structure. You do that all in the app, so you can kind of tell it how you want to organize the files every time you back up. And, you know, one of the biggest features is that you use it as an external hard drive. So you kind of have a solid state external hard drive with you wherever you go.
And what sizes do they have?
They had 500, a 750, and a 1 terabyte coming out. But one of the coolest features they actually showed me, and I don't use Lightroom Mobile. I don't know if you do.
I don't.
But I know some people out there do. But he was showing me an example. Let's say you're on the road. You know, a lot of times I have commercial shoots in Manhattan where I take a train in. And let's say you finish a shoot and you have this little Narbox. And, you know, right as I finish my shoot, I back up everything to the Narbox. Let's say I have an iPad with Lightroom Mobile. Essentially what you can do is, when you open up the Narbox app, you can see all the images that are stored on the drive. You can then batch send all those images into Lightroom Mobile and do all your editing using your iPad, for instance, on Lightroom Mobile. And then when you're done with them, using Lightroom Mobile, send them back to the Narbox as JPEG files. So let's say I do that on a train, for instance, on my way home. I get home and I have JPEGs ready to send to a client an hour and a half later, which is pretty neat.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of mobile editing. It's
I never even thought to kind of bring it to that level. You know, most of my mobile editing is, you know, in between jobs, taking my laptop to Starbucks and getting a coffee and doing some mobile editing. But that's not
my life. Yeah.
But you know what? I don't really consider that mobile editing. That's, you know, just moving my office to a coffee shop. But you know, being able to work, you know, on Lightroom on your iPad, that's really mobile, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it has a lot of newer features that the older devices like this were lacking. And it's kind of bringing this, you know, backup hard drive concept to the next level.
Very cool. Yeah.
So, and it also, like we mentioned when I spoke to him, it saves you time organizing after, because if I shoot now 4 houses in a day, I come home and I have, however many files I have all in one folder. I have to open Bridge or Lightroom or whatever it is and start organizing and either put them in collections or move them to different folders by, to sort by different property. But, if you're using this device on the road and you set it to each upload, just create a new folder, you get in and you plug in this hard drive, you pull it off, and each property is ready to go in its own folder. So it kind of speeds up your workflow.
Awesome. No, I like it. I love the idea. I think all the products have been really interesting, and I really want to try that first one. The blocks. What was it called? The palettes. Yeah. On a couple of those. But no, awesome. So we'll have all the information on the show notes, and people can check them out. And hopefully, maybe we'll have a demo and get to do firsthand feedback for some of the stuff we haven't used.
Yeah, I'm going to reach out. I mean, some of the things, maybe Narbox, maybe even Palette, I'll reach out to them and maybe we can get them on for a show talking about their product in a little more detail, because, for instance, in Narbox, while we spoke about it for whatever it was, 4 or 5 minutes, I'm sure there's a lot of stuff in there that I'm missing, and obviously a representative from the company is going to be able to better explain exactly what they do.
Great.
As well as even GeoCV, which is pretty neat. That's geared specifically to the real estate industry. So.
Yeah, no, I would love to see a demo of that. So I'm going to go on their website and check it out.
All right, cool.
Yeah, good. So you had a good time there. Was it something that is worthwhile if you're in the New York area? Would you come out from California to see it, or it's not quite there?
Yeah, I wouldn't. I mean, I wouldn't say come out from California. I mean, you never need an excuse to come out to New York, but I wouldn't make the trip just for this. I mean, especially, I know, WPPI is in Vegas, and that's geared more towards wedding and portrait photographers. But, if I had to guess, I haven't been to WPPI in Vegas in probably 10 years at this point. But if I had to guess, a good ton of the vendors probably cross over to both shows. So it's probably a lot easier for you to get to Vegas than it is to get to New York. I would say one or the other. The show is definitely not as big as it used to be. I mean, I remember, not even 6-7 years ago, I mean, they had 2 huge, convention halls in the Jacob Javits Center. Now they're confined to one smaller hall. So the show's, getting smaller. And I don't know if that's anything for any reason, but, just with the amount of information out on the internet, there's less of a need for vendors to come. I don't know what the reason is, but
before we go though, you said something about you went and tried the new Canon mirrorless system.
I did. Yeah, I did. I played with it a little bit.
What do you think?
It's pretty neat. It felt good in my hand. Like I said, I do have the Canon M5 mirrorless. Excuse me. So it was definitely a nice step up from it. It definitely felt professional in my hand. The images felt good. I took a couple of test shots with it. So the stuff felt good. It was fun. Look, when you're playing with it at a show, it's different because they have little props set up and you're just shooting that than when you're going out and shooting. But, I liked it.
And did you see any famous people there for like Frono's photos or anybody else there?
I did not see him. I don't think I saw anybody.
Okay. And were there people were people really excited, or was it like really, really cool, or was it just like it's just kind of, because I always want to go to Photokina, and I hear that's a really big show. So that's one
this
thing.
is probably definitely a smaller level than Photokina. But I do have to say Sony's booth was gigantic, the biggest I've ever seen Sony have a booth ever. Which doesn't surprise me now, because now they're kind of up there with Canon and Nikon. So they three had the three biggest booths at the place. But yeah, I mean, it's, it was a fun couple hours out, get out of the office, get out of, the car for a little bit and just walk around and see a lot of old colleagues, a lot of people I know from the wedding industry I bumped into. So it's good to go out there, spend the day out there, see a lot of people, speak to a lot of people that, that I know now, even from the podcast. I went to the Think Tank booth. We know the guys there now. I chatted with them for a little bit.
And you wore your shirt?
I did wear my shirt.
We're going to have to release that soon.
Yeah, we're pretty close, right around the corner. So we're not too far away.
Yeah.
So just sit tight, it's coming out.
Yeah, awesome, fantastic. Well, I'm really I'm glad you were able to go there and share with us, because it's always interesting to hear of places that you weren't able to go to. So awesome, man.
Yeah, it was fun, and definitely to hear about new products that we can all benefit from, hopefully down the line, some way or another.
And I just want to give an update that I am still totally enamored with my Sony cameras. So I'm really, really pleased with Sony. That's good to see their booth was the biggest, and they're coming along really well.
Yeah, no, it was really nice, and they were showing off their big three cameras, I guess, including the A9. So it was cool. The Sony booth had 2 live boxers, or I guess actors, but boxers, kind of boxing and duking it out, and then they had all the cameras laid out, so you can get. I guess they wanted to show off how good it is shooting live action, which is probably great for you because you shoot these races.
Yeah. Got a Spartan race this weekend, the Sacramento Spartan. So we're going to be in. They just did the all my buddies that went back to New Jersey last weekend, and they said it was the worst weather of any Spartan or any race or any event they've ever shot. It was just a mud fest and cold.
Oh, yeah.
And
we had a nor'easter here on Saturday. Yeah, it was not fun.
No fun to shoot in rain, and people were giving me a hard time saying, they don't need rain covers. Well, some of the stuff that I shoot, if you don't have a rain cover, I don't care how rain protected or how weather sealed your camera is, it'll fail. And
I know you have the new think tank Hydrophobia, right?
Yeah, it's really great, and I did a video on it, and I really, really say one thing about think tank is they do updates, and they have version 1, version 2, version 3, and they really do make significant differences, and the workmanship is just it is second to none. So I really love their stuff.
I actually ordered a think tank product today. I ordered a lens pouch.
Awesome.
Yeah,
great. Okay, man. I think we played this one out.
Yeah, no, for sure, and glad we are able to brought some good info from Photo Plus down to everyone. Hopefully everyone will be able to check out some of their stuff, and we'll have links to all the different websites for all the people I spoke to on the show notes. So definitely check it out and check back, and the usual, leave a review, subscribe to our newsletter. We send out at this point weekly emails once our new episodes release, and we will be sending out some new emails once all the other fun stuff starts rolling out, including t-shirts.
Yeah, fun stuff. Really enjoying it. And I want to encourage people to please log on to the website and do a little recording, 90-second recording. You record your question for Ask the Guys, and we'll do our best to answer it and play it back on the air. And you can promo your company and just see what's going on out there, and get some answers from either Brian or I or one of our esteemed guests. So that's a lot of fun. And I've been back in making my YouTube videos. I'm back on the horse, and I had a hiatus. I was so busy with my workshops all year that just had to cut something out. But now I'm back, and I've just been releasing a bunch of videos, and that's come along really well. So I'm really excited.
Awesome.
Take us out.
So thanks everyone for listening. We'll speak to you next time.
This has been Shooting Spaces, a real estate photography podcast. Subscribe to this show and don't forget to leave us a review. You can also follow Rich and Brian on social media and at their website, shootingspacespodcast.com.